When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to our final Disrupting with Purpose session focused on Black excellence and entrepreneurship. We're so happy to have you this afternoon. Little sad that this is the last conversation of the year, but don't worry, we're bringing this series back next year. So stay tuned for more information on 2022 sessions of Disrupting with Purpose. We're bringing it back. This is a really important topic for us at Youthprise. So we have our founding president and our co-board chair here today. So this is an amazing, this will be an amazing discussion with some wonderful entrepreneurs. I just want to give a shout out to Claim Our Space, Katie Troyer, who's an entrepreneur who we've been working with to put these sessions on, which have been wonderful. And so I just encourage everybody, this is going to be a great discussion. And after this discussion, go out and find a local Black entrepreneur and support them. I think you'll be energized by the conversation today. And so with that, I'll turn it over to our wonderful MC, Lissa Jones, host of Urban Agenda Thursday nights, KMOJ. You know, I always got to show you some love, Lissa.
Marcus, I always appreciate your love. I'm so happy to be here and so grateful to you and to Youthprise and everyone who's decided to come this afternoon. Let's go ahead and get things started. Even though this is our last this year, it's exciting to know that these conversations will continue into the new year. It is my privilege to introduce to you Taylor McGee with the Black Disability Collective. Taylor, welcome.
And I'm gonna read some spoken word for y'all. My work really revolves around the Black experience and also just a lot of ancestral work and things like that, and a lot of those different ideas. So I hope y'all enjoy it. When faced with the choice of abundance or nothing, I have always chosen nothing. A fatal loss of control. October 17th, 2018. Video footage reveals an off-duty Chicago police officer shooting Robert Hayes, an unarmed Black autistic teen. The sergeant was not prosecuted. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 2 police officers broke down a mentally ill man's door and proceeded to tase him 18 times in the shower before he died. Adam Trammell, a schizophrenic Black man, can be heard screaming in agony on the officer's body cam footage. Neither officer was charged. Through these stories, we are reminded that Black mentally ill bodies, Black autistic bodies, are not seen as being worthy of justice. How throughout history, those with psychotic symptoms were sent to the gas chambers to die. How time after time, we are stripped of our names and robbed of the opportunity to tell our stories. As Black disabled people, our ability to exist is dependent on how digestible we are, on us accepting that we will perpetually be forced to shrink ourselves and bury the pieces of our personhood that those in power have decided make us appear threatening. Every night I say a prayer. For the Black man with Tourette's stopped by the police for an undesirable tic. Another prayer for the little Black autistic boy having a meltdown in the grocery store as white housewives watch him with disgust in their eyes. And another prayer for the little Black girl with intrusive thoughts, clutching the knife she intends only to harm herself with, desperately trying to create her own judgment day as her white roommates stare on in horror. We are all Emmett Till's children, one uncontrollable whistle away from facing a lynching mob, a single moment away from our names being hashtag material before being laid down to rest. We are all Harriet Tubman's children, capable of resisting, rejecting the white man's ability to deny us our safety, leading one another to freedom through every proud episode of narcolepsy so that we can reclaim our names. Here we are, carrying with us generations, our souls bearing witness to the hymnals only we know, ones of unruly bodies and nonverbal communication, ones written to the tune of sensory overload and completed by the harmonies only the voices in our heads know the notes to. For every one of us who is stolen by a world that is in a committed long-term relationship with our oppression, there will be another who will preserve that memory so that we can continue to equip one another with the tools to survive in the ways we have dreamed of. Took a lighter to my soft spots, trying to shortcut my way to calluses. It was an act of survival, not a symbol of impatience. Not all of us can afford to wait for time to make us hard enough to survive. You can't slice your thumb open and pour your blood into the earth and think that is an anointing act. Think that this is comparable to the long spilled blood of the black and brown bodies whose spirits are strapped to your white egos. White people continually fail to understand that being race traitors is the bare minimum, and yet this remains an expectation where the well-meaning individuals I interact with let me down. Communities of color understand that we must prioritize the collective. This prioritization is why we continue to survive in spite of the generational trauma and held memories of violence we each carry. I think white people get to experience pain in a way I will never know how to. I could go outside tomorrow to get a box and start screaming inside of it for the rest of my life, and I still wouldn't get all the hurt out. I'm incapable of explaining to someone all the different ways an open wound can fester when they keep insisting on sticking their fingers inside my hurt places. How much of my blood do you need to rub between your fingers? I think you can only see my pain as it's exiting me. I think you'd like me better as taxidermy, something lifelike without purpose. I'd serve you best as a doe, mounted on your wall, a vessel without life that you can caress on your whim alone. Thank you. I hope y'all enjoyed that.
Our artists document our times. Thank you, Taylor McGee. It's now my privilege to bring to you Wokie and Thompson. Wokie is the president at Youthprise. Thompson is co-founder and CEO of Nice Healthcare. I hope I pronounced it correctly, Thompson. Wonderful. Welcome to both of you. I'm delighted you're here this afternoon. Would it be okay if I start with a question to Wokie?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Wokie, it seems like social entrepreneurship really speaks to your passion. What fuels your passion in that area? And why is it important for community to support young Black entrepreneurs?
That is such a great question, Lisa. And it's wonderful to be here. I was so inspired by the piece that we heard before. She did a wonderful job. But to answer your question, I think entrepreneurship is in my DNA. My grandmother, her name was Sarah Raines Fredericks, herself was an entrepreneur and began to invest in real estate in Liberia early on. And she was quite a character, my grandmother. She loved the horses. So she was well known at the racetracks in New York. She loved beer. She drank a lot of beer, and she would call broken beer bottle her call card. So she would actually go and visit people and break the Heineken beer and say, "This is my call card." And then my mom, but she loved Liberia, and she passed on and instilled in all of her children a love for country as well. And then my mom was just the opposite of my grandmother. She was a very quiet type person, but she herself was an entrepreneur and invested in an ice cream business in the 40s called Nimba Frost. And part of the investment was really ensuring that ice cream could have exotic African flavors. So if you can imagine, for me growing up as a kid, I had all the ice cream machines right in my house. So I was a very, very popular kid. I dabbled myself in entrepreneurship. In the 70s, I had a greeting cards company called Kalimba. And it really highlighted the artistry of Liberian people recovering from the war in Liberia. So I was not surprised at all that, given kind of my personal journey into equity, that I ended up at a place like Youthprise, which is a very entrepreneurial organization. And what I always say about Youthprise is we invest early, we stay invested. So part of the Youthprise experience also is having a great love for entrepreneurship and supporting entrepreneurs of color in general, but Black entrepreneurs, because it's a way to achieve excellence and it's a way to meet our mission. And I think it's very, very important that the community supports entrepreneur. It's a way to create wealth. It's a way to preserve. It's a way to reclaim our place and to remind people that we are from Minnesota and we want our community to kind of be lifted up to where it belongs. And I think that supporting Black entrepreneurs is the way to do that. And then finally, I would say that Youthprise has always been, not always, but for a long time has been influenced by Thompson, who himself is an entrepreneur and has been part of our story as well. And I always feel when Thompson is present that he has so much to say on entrepreneurism, but he is an excellent Black entrepreneur. And so I feel so fortunate that he is our co-chair of the board.
Oh, Wokie, I learned so much. Thank you for sharing your legacy with us. That's incredible to me. What a legacy. And Thompson, this woman who's built a legacy 3 generations deep, is now calling out to you to talk a little bit about your legacy. As a successful entrepreneur who established a business as a young adult, will you tell us your entrepreneurship story? Why is it important to have a strong ecosystem of entrepreneurs and, in particular, Black entrepreneurs?
Yeah, thanks everybody for having me. And that's a high bar and high praise from Wokie. Thank you for that. You know, my story, I have to condense it, quite a bit for everybody, but it's a story about trying and trying again. So my first company I tried was in 2009 when I was in business school, and it was a health tech company. And, I worked on it for 2 years with my business partner while in business school, and it didn't do exactly what I wanted it to do, so we shut it down. The next company I started, I said to myself, okay, what are the lessons I learned from that first company? The lesson that I learned was don't be too early to market, because that's what the problem was. We were too early to market. And, a couple of years later, we saw many businesses get funding, significant funding and get great success doing what we were trying to do, but they were trying to do it a couple of years later than we were. So I said, okay, I'm going to make sure we're not too early to market. I'm going to make sure that the market is ready for what I want to produce. So my next company, I did just that, but again, the company didn't work. So I shut it down. So I shut that down, and my lesson again, I sat, and thought to myself, what did I learn this time? And what I learned was, the customer is not always right. And that's what I thought, that I had an idea. I had customers that were ready to pay before we started. We built it out. We're ready to go, but they weren't right. They weren't right about the product. They weren't right about the value. They weren't right about a lot of things. So, I was ready to give up on entrepreneurship at that point. I come from an entrepreneurial family, as Wokie did. My parents are entrepreneurs. They own a business here in Minnesota. And I thought that's what I was supposed to do. But after these 2 failures, as I felt at that time, I didn't really feel like I had what it took to be an entrepreneur. So fortunately for me, I had mentors and advisors around me, and they encouraged me to keep going, to combine my unique experiences in education to pursue a venture that would be successful. So I started a third venture, again in healthcare. My background is all in healthcare. And that venture took everything. I went into $500,000 in personal debt. My family supported me the entire way. I drained everything. I sacrificed everything, put everything on the line. There was no net, no cushion, no safety net. And finally, the business started getting traction. We ended up raising about $7-8 million from investors. And 4 months after we raised that money in 2016, the investors kicked me out of my own company after spending 4 years trying to get it off the ground. So finally, I had something that worked. Finally, I had customers, I had revenue, I had backing from investors, and still the universe conspired, to not let me get what I wanted to get. So the story that comes out of that is what was a lesson. I could have sat there dejected, and I was. My second son was born during that time. It was a very tumultuous time. It was 2016. It was the month of the election. There was a lot of things happening during that time for myself and for the country. And I told myself, look, it could have been worse. So what happened is, to cap off the story, is the customers, the vendors, distributors, partners, previous employees, my parents and my comrades, other Black entrepreneurs in particular, encouraged me to restart the business, because what happened is when those investors took it over and kicked me out, they destroyed the business within 4 months. So a year later, we relaunched the company, called it a different name, reformed it under a new legal entity. All the old customers came back, all the old employees came back, the old distributors came back. We've raised $12 million to date. We're currently raising another large round. We operate in 6 states. It's a big company now. And that was after all of that. So that's my journey. My journey has been mostly things not going my way, and things going my way one time. And that's all you need in entrepreneurship, is for things to go right just once.
Oh my goodness. If that isn't a testimony, Thompson, I see why Wokie is so impressed. Thank you so very much. Wokie, thank you. I'll be back with you shortly for our fireside chat. I really appreciate you. And now it's time to bring the panel forward, please. We have with us today Bradley Taylor, Dario Otero, Thompson, Aderinkomi. Please correct me, Thompson. I forgot to ask you for the correct pronunciation.
It's close, no problem. Aderinkomi.
Aderinkomi. Thank you, Thompson, for your grace. Thompson Aderinkomi and Precious Wallace, welcome. I'm thrilled that you're all here. What I'd like to do for this panel is to create an aura of more conversation than interrogation, if you will. So I'll pose a question, and if one of you would like to take it, and then if one of you wants to build on that, or if you want to take a different, less divergent or more divergent path, that's fine too. As a person of African descent, what barriers did you face as you launched your business? Thompson just talked to us about a few that he's faced over and over.
I guess I'll kind of hop in that. I say as barriers is just like lack of resources, everyone needs to kind of get their foot in the door in some shape or form. And without having, that group of people with you to empower you in different ways, whether financially, mentally, emotionally, it makes it rather difficult to break down that barrier of entry.
I'll jump in as well. I think one of the biggest barriers in starting up your business, especially if you're coming from a community like mine, was to have access to financial literacy and understanding of the back office of your business. Understanding things like, simple stuff as QuickBooks to all the way up to how to really benefit from buying and purchasing certain equipment and stuff and getting tax rebates. And so that's a barrier coming in. Other barriers for young people that I've seen are things like transportation is huge. And then mental health. If you're starting a business, you definitely need support and mental health. And so those become barriers if you don't have those support systems. Entrepreneurship can be very lonely at sometimes. And it's not like showing up to an office and working with people. you have barriers in that alone, right? It's not like somebody's telling you what to do every day. So those can be barriers, but they can also be things that you grow from and be things that help to motivate you as well.
Fantastic. You know, I really like the way that you are expanding on the idea. I think when we think of businesses and entrepreneurships, we ought to think of money. We don't think about mental health and investing in support, in all those kinds of things that are really critical to be a successful entrepreneur. These are fantastic ideas. Thank you. Who supported you along the way, Precious? Thompson talked about his family. Who supported you?
So hi everyone. Happy, what is today? Tuesday. I say that's also a part of entrepreneurship. Most of the days you don't know which day is what. So along my journey of entrepreneurship, it has really been more so a push of getting out of survival mode. And the people that have definitely been in my corner, and I'm kind of happy that it was just mentioned that I would say alongside of different organizations that have supported and been a part, me personally on this journey, having my therapist and my life coach to both help guide me have really been a really good help in my life, especially going through entrepreneurship. And there has never been an entrepreneur in my family. And I always say my parents are fairly old. And so I am their youngest. And this is not something that's ever been taught to me or told to me. So finding the footsteps on my own has been a very interesting platform. And so being able to reach out to different people in different places everywhere. I can't even think of a specific person besides my life coach and therapist that have been very helping to guide the process. It's been really wonderful.
What excellent insights. Thank you, Precious. Life coaches are critically important. We all deserve them. Thompson, you're shaking your head. You want to talk a little bit about it? You're on mute, Thompson.
Whether it's a formal life coach or an informal life coach, I think that coaches, people that can speak power into you on a regular basis are so important, because most of the things you try as an entrepreneur will not work. And the things that do work won't work the way you wanted them to. And having that power poured into you, on a regular basis from people who aren't going to judge you, people who aren't going to critique you, people who aren't going to try and strategize with you and figure out what you did wrong, but just empower you, it's one of the keys, I think, to sustaining and persevering, which itself is one of the keys to success, is just not quitting. But you can't quit without that power behind you.
Well, and given your testimony, you know something about that. Bradley, you're smiling. You have anything you want to say?
No, I'm just agreeing with everything Thompson is saying. It's super true. Like, unless you don't have that backing behind you, giving you those whispers of affirmation, it's really hard to get through it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I would ask, what would have helped you promote your success, and what will help you as you continue to grow your business? So as you look back, what would have helped you before and what will help you now?
Is that for me?
Sure, for all of you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Please go ahead, Bradley.
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm so sorry.
Oh, sure. It's no problem at all. As you sort of look back and you think about your business, what would have helped you get towards success, and sort of what will help you now in growing your business? So sort of Sankofa, looking to the past to understand it in order to bring it forward.
Yeah, I think was it Dario, I think? Yeah, what he spoke on is, learning the whole kind of backlog of the business, learning the QuickBooks, your taxes, your margins, and, everything that people don't usually see in the forefront, because I think it's very imperative to have those things unlocked, because it really helps dictate the way your business is directed, and the way you operate. I think if you if you are able to know those numbers and have that solid backing, you're able to move a little bit better with confidence because you know how to move. You have a clearer vision of how to move, where not to go and what not to expand your energy into, you know. Yeah.
I'd like to add to that as well. I think building your round table, that's one of the biggest things. I call it, how do you build your round table? And when I say that, when you sit at that table, you're even, nobody's judging you. I think Thompson said it the best, right? Like you're just sharing. And so I've been able through the pandemic to build that with other entrepreneurs in text groups. So I think it's one of the most valuable things that I could do is to have other entrepreneurs that are struggling, that are winning, that are giving advice right in our text group. You know, we even share sometimes contracts that we sign as a win, and we share, you know, hey, we've shared negative bank accounts before when people need to get paid. I mean, whatever it is that you need to share to know that somebody else is going through that journey is something that is extremely valuable. And creating your round table is a way to just know that you're sane, right? Like I'm not just the only one going through this. And so that has been extremely resourceful for me.
You know, that is so important. And I think about the lack of intergenerational wealth in the Black community in Minnesota. And I think about the way that that hinders our ability and our capacity to develop businesses and to sustain them. So what happens when everybody's looking to us to get paid and the bank account is negative? What happens, folks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So also to adding to that, and we're kind of talking about it, but really adding to exactly, because I don't think folks really talk about maintaining. Like we talk about the logistics and taxes and getting to know things. And I think even the thing that Dario just talked about, like that's all really important. But when I'm curious about how people you maintain yourself, how you maintain your business, because getting through year one can be a breeze. Getting through year two can be, you know, crazy. Getting through year three can be like, well, now I'm understanding why, you know, Chance the Rapper said, plan your 5-year even for yourself personally, because maintaining yourself to maintain your business, especially if you are your business, like for me being a designer and a moderator, is really important that I also am maintaining what is happening on the day-to-day, and I'm also maintaining my own self and keeping my own self aware or constantly investing in myself as I'm investing in the logistics of what's happening in my day-to-day in both my businesses. Is really important. But people don't really talk about it, which is kind of scary to me. But that's why it's something to be discussed.
That's why we have your brilliant self on this panel, so we can discuss it. How are you maintaining, y'all? How are you maintaining, Thompson? What's up, Bradley? Dario, how are you maintaining?
I think just really going in those outlets that I think historically in my life have always given me pleasure, you know, like competing in sports, playing video games, playing with my kids, you know, just stuff that I know that allows me to kind of just clear my mind from everything and just kind of focus on me. And obviously having therapists too as well. Shout out to the therapist.
You know, when it comes to, I'll kind of blend my answers, maintaining and then what did I learn, you know, from the past, you know, and, you know, what am I looking at in the future? But when starting with maintaining, like I've always been very strict, you know, with exercise, you know, as being a core part of who I am. And then just not being afraid to, you know, carve your own path. You know, like we all read all these business magazines, we're all on Twitter, you know, we're reading TechCrunch and all this stuff, and you read about what Bill Gates does and what Elon Musk does and all these people do. Well, you know what? You're not those people, you know? So like you read about these guys and they read 100 books a month or something like that. You know what? I only read fiction. Like that's how I stay sane. I don't read biographies. I don't read anything. All I read is straight up high fantasy because there's enough reality in my day-to-day life as an entrepreneur that I don't need to, you know, introduce any more reality to it. So, you know, and sometimes I don't engage in all these activities that you see on social media. So I think that today entrepreneurs have a wealth of knowledge at their disposal, but we also have all these personas and stories and narratives that we're feeding ourselves. And these are false stories. These are false narratives. They're not actually true. We're only getting one side of it. So, that's one thing I do to maintain myself, is to not engage in that. And that's something I wish I would have known early on, is to not idolize these people that are writing books, because they probably didn't even write the book themselves. To not idolize these people that read 100 books a month, because you know what, they're already rich. So, they got time to read 100 books a month and, pontificate and all these topics, that have nothing to do with my business, and so, and the other thing too, is to realize that entrepreneurship is a career choice, so that you don't have to look at your business that you're working on right now as, if this thing doesn't work, like it's game over for my life. That's the farthest thing from the truth. It's a career, and you're going to probably start multiple businesses, and you just got to make sure that you're learning along the way with each and every one.
Yeah, to add what Thompson, add to what you're saying, really, I feel like if you really break down what a business is, it's just a risk. And you take that risk if you're going to go to college, you're putting money into that. You take that risk if you're going to play in the stock market, if you invest in real estate. Business is just, you're on an entrepreneurial journey and you're risking a certain amount of money and time for a reward at the end. And so how I maintain in that space is some of the mental health stuff like that, but like also learning from others and our ancestors too as well. Like business is not this, we got to break it down. It's not this, like what you read, like Thompson said, right, where it's like, you got to be Elon Musk, right? Like our communities have always had business, like Wokie was talking about with ice cream, right? Like I couldn't leave out of my door when I was a young kid without someone trying to sell me something in the neighborhood, right? Whether it was like, hey, I'll help you with this, or I'll do this, or I'll work on your car, I'll wash your car. Like it's always been in our DNA. And so when you start to look at a business, you say, well, how do I break that down? It's a small business, it's a large company. Am I trying to start up? Am I doing social entrepreneurship and like helping the community? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And I would always encourage you to have a side hustle. That's your first step. And so everybody on this call is an entrepreneur, and you have a problem you want to solve, and you can have a side hustle. It's a mindset, entrepreneur mindset. So you can work a job, but you can have that entrepreneur mindset, and that allows you to start to step into your side hustle until it becomes your main hustle. And that way it's not all of that like pressure to just have to win, like Thompson's talking about.
I think about Dr. Joseph White, who founded the field of Black psychology, and he talks about the 7 resiliencies of Black folks. And one of them is improvisation, the ability to just regroup, right, to pivot. And Black people do that all the time. You're absolutely right. When you look back, Sankofa, into our history, you see we've been all kinds of entrepreneurs. There were times when we couldn't buy anything outside of our community. So that's really important recognition. Thank you all so much. Speaking of the community, how has your business enabled you to give back?
So I'll just go on in there. All right, so cool. So I am a graphic designer, brand designer, but I say self-taught and professionally because I've been designing since I was 11 and I'm turning 29 in 2 months. And so I've been professionally designing for the last 4 or 5 years or more. Whenever 2014 was. So I have been doing that because I love color and everything about color, right? Around 2019, I had a conversation with Melanie Wallaby, really dope art director of Pollen. She is amazing. We got to talking about us being designers and the lack or thereof of people saying there's no Black women creatives, especially in the pipeline to be hired by these agencies, which is complete bull. I don't know if I can completely curse, but it's complete bull. And so I was like, well, okay, if the white folks in Minnesota don't know that there are a whole bunch of Black women creatives, I will constantly bring Black women creatives and creators together in a space to have conversation, whether they own their own business or they have a side hustle and or they just want to start something and they need the inspiration and proximity of their homegirl who's already doing what they're doing without having all their ducks in a row. And so since then, since 2019, I have literally did 6 or 7 panels total. And with those 7 panels, been able through Art in Many Forms to actually pay Black women to talk about their experience, pay women of color, period, to talk about their experience. Had 2 live shows, one in Minneapolis, one in LA, and then was able to do an entire tour that I had to pivot last year. And so we ended up calling it Living Room Flow, which is completely on YouTube, and still go to each city, St. Louis, Houston, St. Paul, and I always forget one. And I believe I went back to LA. And so being able to actually give to these Black women and actually like not just have them talk about their experience, but be able to share their experience, and then they take that and they turn it into whatever it is, to watch folks grow from that and to actually have an impact on just the community, especially the design community in Minnesota that is so very much growing, but still kind of gate kept, has been a beautiful thing to watch come true, and also a beautiful thing to like be at the forefront of telling folks there are designers of color everywhere. There is no question if there are designers of color, and if they are or aren't in the pipeline, you just have to look past what you normally would look for to actually find them, because they out there being creative, being dope and amazing. And so watching that impact all around has just sparked my heart, clearly, and it makes me happy.
I want to sign up for the movement. I don't know if I'm a creative or not, but I will support. I will do whatever it is. Precious, you have called me. I'm ready to go, girl. I'm ready to ride.
It's very much, yeah, we love it here.
Everybody needs a Black creative in their life. Everybody, a Black woman creative especially. Yes. Gentlemen, how do you give back to your community? Thank you, Precious. How do you give back to your community?
I want to say really just really hiring as many like youthful people of color, especially Black young men and women. You know, I try to, especially every summer, I at least try to bring on at least like 2 workers, and then try to bring in as many people as I can mentor. You know, like when I came up, I didn't know anything about like the food business. All I knew is that people like these donut cells like trapping out of my like little apartment building, you know, and stuff like that. And being able to approach someone who, first of all, was like not really intimidating, you know, and just being like vulnerable and be like, hey, I got this, I'm going. I kind of approach it with that same thing, as kind of just leaving an open door. And especially if those people are showing, you know, signs that they want to do something and really want to go with it, you know, I will be more than happy to put my time into it, also bring them on and pay them and allow them to grow and show them all the nuances of what it takes to run a business. And yeah.
You know, I totally dig it, Bradley. This whole idea of every time somebody thinks about Black people, particularly in Minnesota, it's always like, well, what can we do for Black people to fix these things? Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? We can just let us have our businesses and employ our people, and we got it. We got this. Yeah, right on, Bradley. Employment is a verb. Investment is a paycheck. All right, Bradley, I dig it. That's right on. Thompson, Dario, what would you like to drop? Thanks, Bradley.
Yeah, I'll say that it's baked into the fabric of our company. So Youth Lens 360, one of the things that we really do to get back to the community is every young person that comes through our company is also encouraged to start their own business as well. So we help them file the paperwork. They start their business. We subcontract all of our stuff with them. So as a force together, we come together and we do a lot of corporate video, but we have wedding photographers. We have people that do music videos. We have people that do all these things on their own. So to be able to contract with them, give them some of their first revenue and income, and then be able to help them purchase their own equipment instead of being the house that has all the equipment. it's not really valuable to them. So because they have their own equipment, then they can get dispatched to different jobs. We host most of the big equipment that somebody may not be able to afford on themselves, like a $10,000 slider or, you know, stuff that costs a lot of money. And then we also get space. Space is one of the hardest things as a young person. You're trying to land a contract, you're trying to, you know, sell somebody on something that you do as a service. Well, we find, you know, like high-end business spaces that we can then afford as a company, and then leverage that with young people so that they can step into that. The last thing we do is like we give back content, creative, positive content that shows African Americans in a positive light. So if you go to our website, on our services page, I think it's CR service or something, our work is music videos that we give back to the community that have a positive message or positive light, because we feel like all the negativity out there that's in the on that scene and in media, in music, and all that we can combat some of that with some positive messages that will help you know, show a different light of on young people, especially young African American males, especially.
You know what, I was already feeling so blessed to be part of this panel, but now I am just totally, I was thinking about the Sierra Leonean proverb, when spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion, you dig? Like you are figuring out how y'all gonna do it together. The mutual aid societies that Black people put together here. I think of Fannie Lou Hamer, you know, she ran for office to try to get you to vote. You know, she had a food shelf. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It's so good to see you beautiful Black people still doing the traditions of Black people. This is wonderful. Thompson, oh, bless you, Dario. And Thompson, what do you want to lay on us? Thank you, Dario, that was awesome.
Everything that everyone has said before me is 100% correct. And we're doing a little bit of that at Nice Healthcare. I would say the big thing for me at Nice Healthcare is to create an organization that perpetuates itself in a way that's more equitable. You know, because it's all fine and good if I'm willing to hire Black folks, right? You know, but I'm building a very large company. I mean, there's things that are happening in my company I know nothing about. There's people that work in my company, I don't know who they are. I don't even know when they started. They reached out to me on LinkedIn. I'm like, who are you? You know, it's like, I only know you work here because you have the logo on your profile. You know, so, you know, how do I make sure, you know, that the organization perpetuates itself in a way that matches up and lines up with the vision that we all have here on this panel today? That's the main way that I'm really focused on giving back, is to create that organization and to create in such a way that not only that, but, you know, at Nice Healthcare, we call it a thriving wage. You know, a lot of companies have a minimum wage. The federal government's wasting time with a $15 minimum as if that's, you know, even valuable, as if that's even useful to any family today. We have a thriving wage at Nice Healthcare. The lowest wage we pay anybody is $65,000 a year, and we don't require a college education. You know, so how are you going to give back without doing that? You know, so people can come to our company and actually start building a life, start building a career, you know, start building wealth, you know, and also learn. And my goal and objective would be that this isn't their last stop, that this is just the beginning of their journey. But to start that journey, you need stability. You need to be able to pay your house, you know, your mortgage, your rent, buy groceries, not have to worry about that stuff, while also thriving and growing within a diverse company.
Now, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I am talking about. I mean, I cannot wait to share this recording with everyone. I am so inspired. Okay, let me calm myself down and get back on my job. All right. What advice would you have for other young people if they have an idea they'd like to turn into an enterprise, if they have a risk they'd like to take, in Dario's words? What would you like to tell them? Maybe each of you could give us a word or two.
I'll go. I don't know if I'm the oldest one here, so I have to dig a little deep, you know, in the memory banks. And, you know, the main thing I always tell young people is to start and don't stop. Like, whatever's holding you back from starting, like you got to get over it. You got to start. And then whatever you can do to not stop, please don't stop. Those two things, I believe, are about 80% of what it takes to actually achieving your goals. You know, the remaining 20%, you know, it's all this networking, who you know type of stuff, you know, a little bit of luck, you know, it's not education, you know, and, you know, it's not always lack of funds, you know, because you're not going to get those funds unless you start. So please if you're listening to this, please start whatever you've been thinking about, whatever you've been dreaming about, whatever you've been putting on the shelf, please start it and don't stop.
I'm going to say embrace the no's. So when people say no to you, like embrace it, right? Because you're looking for the no, because that tells you what you need to do next. And so I've always felt like I got to honor the fact that God has always let me land on my feet. And so no matter what happens, like I actually get happy now when stuff goes wrong versus being like really worried about it. So like if I've had the weirdest stuff happen, like, thousands of dollars you lose out on because somebody at the front desk of a business didn't like your insurance that you had. And we're shooting video. So it's like, I remember those things used to bother me. Now I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? Like, because I know something bigger is on the other side of that. But if you get caught up in that and you get frustrated with those things that will happen, they're going to happen. Then you will lose, because that's the mindset you got to get over to be an entrepreneur. You have to just know that's coming, and that's going to drive you to what you're actually supposed to be doing, and just keep moving, like Thompson said.
Yes, I'll go. Kind of like they always say, fall as fast as you can. Yeah, really. Like, I think when you fall as fast as you can, it's not really looking at it as failing. You're just learning. Like they said, like one of my mentors, it's like, I don't lose, I just learn. If I know not to go down this path anymore, or if I see myself going down that path, it's like, okay, I know maybe this like shady person might be off to the left, already can catch him coming, and just take the right, and just be able to just guide your way through that as fast as you can, and just keep going and get to that goal.
And so I'll end it out with that. I'll end it by saying two things. One, y'all, I be thinking a lot in my head. I be talking faster in my head than I be talking out loud. But one of the things that I would actually say to someone today is that that saying, the same boiling water that hardens the egg also softens the potato. It's about what you're made of, not your circumstances. And along with that, I would honestly remind people that, especially like as young Black folks, today's parents might be different, but I know like back way when parents, the idea was get a job, work that job, buy a house, take care of your family, maybe get a life insurance policy, and then go on about the win, right? And so today, we are more of the like, just do it, just go for it. But that idea of needing to have all your ducks in a row is still instilled in a lot of people, and a lot of trauma, and a lot of just everybody. And so really explaining to folks, really explaining and letting them know that you actually don't need to have all your ducks in a row. And here is why, because just starting is really important. And also knowing what the end goal is also very important. So before you start, have those things going in your mind, and then go. And then just take off running until you hit your head, whatever happens first, because you're going to hit your head. So.
Wow. I think about the whole idea of a luta continua. The struggle continues, right? What was old is new again. And y'all have picked up the baton and you are running with it. And I am so grateful. I can't wait to welcome you back. Precious and Dario and Bradley and Thompson, will you hang out for a little while till I come back? I'm going to spend a little time with Wokie at the fireside, and then I'll be right back. Thank you. You're getting mad love in the chat too. You can spend a little time in there if you like. Wokie, welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm so delighted that you're back and that we can talk. Oh my gosh, I'm on fire. So I shouldn't even set you up like that, but of course I'm on fire. They have me on fire. As you reflect on what you've heard, what are your thoughts?
Well, the panel did such an excellent job that I don't know if I have too much to ask. I was taking notes pretty furiously. And I think the thing that really stuck with me is, if you have the entrepreneurial mindset, and if you surround yourself with support, and if you remember all of the mental health issues that can help you in your endeavors. And if you believe in yourself and if you have hope, you'll be all right. And I loved the ending, how do you pour back into the community? How do you give back? But, if this segment is about excellence in Black entrepreneurship, then I think our panel did a wonderful job.
I have to agree. In the spirit of Youthprise, you always knock it out of the ballpark. What words of wisdom, Wokie, would you give our panelists and other young people who aspire to be entrepreneurs themselves?
Great. And I wrote these down. So for words of wisdom, first of all, you have to be fearless in pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. If you don't know what sets your soul on fire, you have to find it. You also have to be very mindful of where you are in your entrepreneurship journey. Do you need money? Do you need technical support? Do you need a network? Do you need a mentor? Figure it out. And once you know what you need, you can get to the next level. And then finally, you always have to believe in your own capacity. Don't give up. Chase your dreams relentlessly, and you'll be all right.
Whew, to be young again. I wish I was young again so I could take all that advice, but I still think it will work at my age. I'm writing it down furiously, just like you were. Thank you, Wokie Weah. And welcome back to our panelists. Please join Wokie and I. We'll take a few questions from the chat. First of all, I don't know if all of you got to see it, but you are getting mad love in the chat. People are sending you love from Lucille Clifton. Lucille Clifton is here. Now the ancestors have showed up. Lucille Clifton, the poet. She's not alive. Her spirit is here. Let me be clear, since other people don't often know Black history. I don't want to get anybody confused. So welcome back, panelists. Let's see. Super inspiring. Currently working on multiple business endeavors myself, and this is super enlightening to hear. Let's see here. I'd like to know if the panelists are also involved in mentoring. Particularly in this case, they're asking about youth 13 plus. You are all powerful, solid voices that young people need to hear. Do you get involved in things with young people?
Sorry. Go for it,
okay.
Precious. That's all you.
I was gonna say, so this summer I actually got to do something really dope, and that was go to Green Central during their, I believe it was Freedom School, and so teach a whole bunch of third graders, fourth graders, and fifth graders how to make their own mural. It was very time consuming. It was also very entertaining because fourth graders are grown, and so it was really entertaining, but it was super fun. So mentoring through art and things of color, that nature that connect. I love even doing art buddies. Like I've did that too. I love them. I love that mission that they have. Things like that. I love things like that.
Piggyback
If you have
off
not
Precious.
Harambe'd at a freedom school, you've not lived.
Oh, sorry. Piggyback off of Precious, definitely. I think it's super imperative to, help mentor 13-year-olds and so forth. I think that's a real crucial age, especially for young Black men and women. So being able to have that and so forth, I'm always for any type of capacity that I can offer, my services and support.
Thank you. Dario.
Yeah, I think entrepreneurship and apprenticeship are like one in a pair. Like, so our business is, mentorship is baked in. That's what we do. We work with the 18 to 25 population, but we do a lot of work within school districts. We do a lot of work where we bring young people along in projects that we complete. And definitely mentorship is something that both we do and learn from. So I think there's our business benefits from young people's ideas and the way that they look at the world and the creativity that we put back into the stuff that we sell back to corporate. That's how we get our ideas, right? So young people have all of the stuff they need to be entrepreneurs. They just need to be plugged in.
I love that. I love the idea. And then Wokie, when you were talking earlier in your remarks, you talked about Youthprise being a bit unique in the philanthropic community in so many ways, but in particular, its entrepreneurial nature. Can you talk to us about young people, young entrepreneurs and their role at Youthprise?
Sure. So, I think if you look at the Youthprise story, entrepreneurship is all over it. So we support entrepreneurs in multiple ways, through grants, through mentoring, through opportunities to serve on the board, through opportunities to work at Youthprise. But there is something called the Precedence Fund, which is discretionary. And if you go back, I've been at Youthprise for 10 years. If you go back over the history of my investments, you will see that I have clearly invested and supported young, Black, and Brown entrepreneurs, because I think that's the way that Youthprise can really give back to the community. And I always tell people Youthprise means we are in the enterprise of young people, right? So we are youth-centered, we youth-informed, and we also very human-centered. So I appreciate all of my entrepreneurs. They give me inspiration and help me be my best self, but I also appreciate deeply all the allies and all the partners that have helped us to lift up young people.
Thank you, Wokie. Panelists, I'd like to ask you this. As you reflect on the idea that many of the people in attendance today are in the field of philanthropy, what would you like them to know from you about Black entrepreneurship?
This might be, for people in philanthropy, this might be a little challenging, but the number one thing that could help entrepreneurship and spur economic development is to help young entrepreneurs fund that first stage of family friends round. So currently I'm working with a bunch of entrepreneurs on something called Seed Sponsor, because right at that beginning stage, it's really hard to find money to just go. And that's the best time you could help a young entrepreneur. A lot of people will go and look and judge you if anybody else has invested in you. And if nobody else has invested in you, they won't touch you. Well, most companies have family members that will invest up to $250,000 in their company before they even step out to go speak to an investor. And they have, opportunities to receive funds with no interest bearing, right? And so they don't even have to sell off their company. They keep it in their family. So when you start to think about how to help entrepreneurs, you have to figure out how to change philanthropy into something that you can invest in the businesses and no restrictions. Don't put all these restrictions that might change the way I'm trying to create my company, but just give me the opportunity to do what we do best.
Everything Dario said times 1,001. So that's what it's about for this question.
I agree too, especially in the language as well. I think, deliver it in ways that, people from all different educational backgrounds and so forth can digest it and understand it. And sometimes, you look at those things and even the words just be like, oh my God, this is too much, whatever. So just little things like that, I think will go great wins as well.
I really like your answers. What I often tell people is sort of, what works for other businesses works for Black business. So I don't know why we act like we need a new recipe. You know what I mean? You dig? I mean, like if you're baking a yellow cake, you might add some jazz to it because you have some culture, but I mean, it's essentially the same. So I can't stand kind of when people do that and they play and they double talk. I don't like that because you already know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, y'all are laughing.
I'm so happy you jumped in and said that, because I was literally just thinking to myself, like, one, especially after 2020, there was a lot of, I don't really know the correct way to say it, but like there was a lot of folks that were just reaching out to Black artists, Black creators, Black creatives, just because it wasn't coming from a genuine place. It was either coming from a guilt place, where it was very much coming from a, well, we see the opportunity now, so we want to be able to give you this. And I was going to say, along with what you just said, of like, business isn't new. Just because I'm Black don't make business new. You still need to build a business. But also it hits a lot differently when you're being completely genuine, and when you're like, no, I really want to see your business prevail and go forward. So giving people language and giving people resources, money is beautiful. Being able to have seed money is beautiful. Also, being able to teach people how to maintain it, because that's also a part of maintenance. Can y'all see what my next round of work is going to be about? Being able to actually teach people how to maintain. If you give a business, and it wouldn't matter if they was Black, white, Hispanic, Somali, doesn't matter. If you just give somebody who's used to not having more than $1,000, 50 grand, and you don't give them anything else, and it didn't come from a genuine place, they're probably going to spend it in a day. It's probably not going to go where you want it to go. Sorry for popping, but y'all get the point. It's not going to go where you need it to go. So really teaching people maintenance, also being genuine and really doing things because you want to see it prevail, is also very important. So yeah, give people tips and money at the same time. It makes it a happier place.
Isn't that the truth? Give me some money and let me know what to do with it. I mean, don't give me half of it. I'm so glad you dig that. I'm so glad, because I hate when people play like that. They know what to do. Stop playing, All right. Well, I want to say you have been getting nothing but love in the chat. Is there anything you'd like to leave with the audience that I haven't asked you today? Because you can sure put a cap on it all. Each of you is brilliant in your own right, or you could leave it capped, because that was also, you could drop the mic on any of it. And Precious, please never apologize for popping on anything I'm doing. Black women magic cannot be contained, and popping is just part of the recipe.
Go ahead, Dario.
I would like to tell people, get on LinkedIn, especially if you're a young person and young person of color. Get on LinkedIn, because it's about to explode, and it has a very specific thing that's different than any other social media that will allow you to show your portfolio of work. I'm gonna make some people mad with this, but like, school and like your portfolio of work are almost on the same level at this point right now. I've never been asked for my diploma or what college I went to. I've always been asked to see my work, or what I'm doing and how I approach it. And so LinkedIn allows you to do that and be bigger than, just a degree or, a certification. So get on LinkedIn, start being professional on LinkedIn. Do not get on LinkedIn and start doing what you do on IG. It is not IG. So get on LinkedIn. I think you're muted.
You're muted.
Did one of you want to go? I was not trying to go. Wokie?
Yeah, I was just going to say, contact Bryce, contact me, contact Marcus. We'd love to support your work. If we can't do it directly, we will refer you to the right place to get you supported. So do not hesitate.
And I was also to just leave a note again, 2 notes on purpose. There are Black creators everywhere in Minnesota. Stop playing, go find them. And also, if you are trying to start a business yourself, and whatever the circumstances, whether you're leaving one career, going to another, or whatever it is, just make sure you putting enough investment in yourself first before you just jump straight into it, because entrepreneurship is a career, but it's also a lifestyle. And so yeah, be mindful of yourself.
I would say also just embrace the L's, dude. Like, don't put a lot of stock in what other people are saying, on IG, whatever, Facebook and stuff. I mean, if they're talking about you, that's dope in the first place. But I mean, can you really put a lot of stock into someone who's putting, you know, your business down when they not doing anything themselves, you know. So just keep taking the L's and keep winning, you know. And entrepreneurship, it's the little L's that amount to the big wins, you know. So just keep working and twerking, as I always say.
Yeah, it's hard to add to all of this truth, you know, and I've found that I've been encouraged by this session today, you know, with my fellow panelists, you know, just hearing, you know, the power and encouragement, you know, in their words. And if I can add anything, you know, to what's been said, I would say that I'm not special. Anyone that you see on a magazine cover, on TV, you know, on Instagram, like wherever, they're not special. They don't have anything that you don't have. There's no education, there's no, you know, DNA, you know, that can keep you from getting where you want to get to, you know, besides yourself starting. So don't stop before you start. You know, don't create these barriers that don't exist. Don't compare yourself to others. Just focus on you and go get it.
Each of you is amazing in your own right. And I can tell you that though it is custom in Minnesota, as long as I've lived here my whole life, for everybody to ask me if I know every Black person in Minnesota, I did not know any of you. And I am, besides Wokie and Marcus, I know you had that same experience. Oh, do you know Lissa Jones? And you know exactly what that is. So I'm telling you, I'm glad to know each of you now. Thank you, Youthprise, for this opportunity. For the people who are attending today, if you'd like to try a piece of Black culture through our food, you can try Soul Bowl. And today you have an opportunity to win a gift card to Soul Bowl by going ahead and following Youthprise on Instagram, LinkedIn, I guess on LinkedIn or Instagram. And if you do that now, Noah will let us know who won and you will get your gift card. And then to the panelists, I want to say thank you for the hope and inspiration. Thank you that you're continuing the tradition of Black businesses, and thank you for being geniuses, every one of you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, Youthprise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Wokie, and thank you, Marcus, as well, for this opportunity. And panelists, everyone was super awesome as well.
Super awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Noah,
you.
will you tell us who our winner is? Okay, support direct message. I don't see it, who it is. Okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wrap this party train. What we'll do is when Noah finds out who you are, Noah will reach out to you and share your certificate for Soul Bowl. In the meantime and in between time, I hope that you are at a minimum inspired to tell everybody you know about Black entrepreneurs. And in the spirit of Wokie Weah, make it a verb. And Marcus Pope told us, buy Black. Take care, everybody.
My word is my power, power. My word is my word is my word is my power, power. My word is my word is my word is my power, power. My word is my word is my word is my power, power. My word is my word is okay, let me paint a picture of an A1 world. Villain is defeated and the nerd gets the girl. Yeah, I used to fantasize and let my thoughts unfurl. Mine was tangled as Rapunzel, trade the locks for a curl. Give a twirl, tell me what I got a dream for lately. I've been all around the world and I done seen more lately. I'm a beast, rule breaker, clean, none major. When I pull up to the scene and put that pen to the paper, I change trajectory, never can get the best of me. Spicy, I got the recipe, all of my people next to me. Dare you to try and mess with me. I'm better as your friend and not an enemy. Disintegrate your click, cause what's the tip next to a centipede? It's crowning more dramatic than a pregnancy. I came into the world and now they cannot put an end to me. I tried to make $1, but instead I made change. Now I see the bigger picture. Man, this life is so strange. What a range. But my word is my power, power. My word is my word is my word is my power, power. My word is my word is my word is my power. Crazy with the skill, believe me, I can go hours. Dance beyond the pain to say the rain, a cold shower. Gotta play the game to ascertain what's your power. I used to dream of 6 figures. Like, can they hear me? I'm a 6-fitter. Michelangelo, they making stick figures. Self-doubt disfigured, old bonds broken. Only gold records, man, no bronze tokens. Look at my story, recognize I'm so chosen. Finally found the light, my fire bright, lit out smoking. Chuckle as the demons realize they throat closing. Then hit them with the leg drop like I'm Hulk Hogan. The heavens wide open, my eyes at 20/20 for realists to flex. Adolescence taught me gotta hustle and deal for a check. After what I seen, I know the dream, cause it's real in effect. Even when feelings detect, someone else dealing the deck. Somewhere on the journey, we are bound to get tired. When life get lower, we get higher. The roads all open, the views get wider. Live long, headstrong, shoulders lighter. My work is my power, power. My work is my work is my work is my power, power. My work is my work is my work is my power. Crazy with the skill, believe me, I can go hours. Dance beyond the pain to say the rain, a cold shower. Gotta play the game to ascertain what's your power. When life get lower, we get higher. Pull up to the scene and put that pen to the now I see the bigger picture. Life is so strange, so strange. My word is my power, power. My word is my word is my power, power. My word is my word is my power, power. My word is my word is my power. Crazy with the skill, believe me, I can go hours. Dance beyond the pain to say the rain, a cold shower. Gotta play the game to ascertain what's your power. My word is my power, power. My word is my word is my word is my power, power. My word is my word is my word is my power. Crazy with the skill, believe me, I can go out.